Oh yeah, that's right. A challenge run today. Not even a casual run. We're talking about the OG start of the channel with these type of runs. Okay, technically I started the channel doing long plays, uncommentated, but that was more to, get used to recording video and uploading it. Anyway, so, challenge run. Specifically what I'm talking about is a single weapon challenge run. Threw it on one cell mode, and I'm only going to be taking I'm only going to be taking a single weapon for this entire run, that weapon this time being Heavy Turret. Which is, not the hardest one to use, but hey, get back in the saddle, get back on that wagon. I think it's the best one to do. And since merchandise category exists now, it's not completely luck of the draw to get one. And there you can see it right there. Just need to grind out enough gold here first. So yeah, only using Heavy Turret. And I'm going to even try to avoid using, like, the dive attack to do damage if possible, and you do it anyway, but, old habits die hard and all that. Aside from that, I can also take necklaces, because I consider those more like equipment than proper... Yeah, there's the dive attack. But, yeah, I consider those more similar to equipment than, like an equipable item, armor, or something like that, rather than an actual assistance in any sort of damage. Plus, it also is one of the few things that's going to be giving me any sort of damage reduction right now, which is also another reason why I only wanted to do it on one cell mode. On 3 cell mode, 4 cell mode, enemies are too tanky if you don't have some sort of affix synergy with that, and even then, it can be pretty rough, because it is possible to get an affix with this, it's just kind of difficult. And on 2 cell mode, you really lose a lot of your healing potential by having all the fountains destroyed. So I think going forward, what I'm going to be doing with challenge runs here is just make the go-to 1 cell and maybe go 2 cell if I get a particularly powerful thing. And then, showcases for any sort of utility item. I'm talking stuff that gives you damage reduction naturally, your ice grenades, your Hokuto's bow, for example, Corrupted Power, even though I've done those ones technically already. Oh, they'll be making a reappearance in Season 3 when the game comes out proper August 7th, but for right now, I'm just going through all the stuff that I have not taken an in-depth look at. So, anyway, yeah, that 1 cell, hopefully that's not too controversial. I mean, hey. Also, it's post-commentary because not non-casual run, and that's kind of how I decided that I'm going to be structuring stuff at this point. I don't know. Whatever. So, anywho, Heavy Turret. It's slower than a normal turret, but it does stun enemies that it strikes. Also, does not have too big of a difference insofar as... Good. That was really close. Oof. Doesn't have too big of a difference insofar as damage per second goes, so it's just the slight bit of waiting time is really the worst thing you're getting from it. It even has a... it even gives you a damage buff of, 10%? Just if you're standing near it? It's a fantastic turret. It's one of my favorites. I usually pair it with a ceiling turret and, pyrotechnics. At least that was kind of like my go-to build before I started doing, going into full damage over time for 4-cell runs, which I still think is better just because you can have a bit more spread out stat distribution, gives you a lot more health and a lot more potential damage reduction with Hokuto's bow, ice bow sort of combination. But I still think the Heavy Turret is a great thing. Even if you're not building tactics specifically, the fact that it will stun enemies on striking them, even for just half a second, will knock them out of any of their attacks. It's top tier, triple S rank, whatever you want to say. It's just great. Ooh, there's a second turret right now. I can pick up copies of the same thing too, but yeah. It's just great. Yeah, it's, like I said, not the most challenging run, but it's one I haven't seen before. It's one I haven't looked at, so why not? Why not? Although I wouldn't really say, if you get something better for CC, I wouldn't really say that the Heavy Turret does the best CC. If you have an ice bow, if you have a stun grenade, something that does actual stunning, it can be significantly better. Additionally, this whole stunning thing wears off pretty quickly against bosses, so that's not the best. But I would say for the amount of damage that you're getting out of it, because it does do pretty much the same amount of... Start to see some of the problems with it, though, here, too. Not just because I don't have the cooldown reduction. But yeah, in the absence of any other CC, I think it's really good. That's what I'm saying here. So the general plan here is that I'm going to be doing the usual route, going up to the ramparts, going through to the... I mean, turrets just don't work very well against Conjunctivius at all. Would be nice to grab either of those, but nope. But yeah, turrets just don't work well against Conjunctivius at all due to the way she gets out of the X-plane areas that would actually activate the turret to shoot at her. And it's also, she's also just, you know, in general, a tougher fight either way, so it's one of the easier routes to go for. That's why I'm going for it. I'm also trying to spread out my stats a little bit more instead of going just pure... Instead of just going pure tactics the entire time here, because I really am afraid more than anything else of, well, quick enemies like flying ones there, but also just becoming too much of a glass cannon, because obviously I don't really have the ability to build pure glass cannon because I have the heavy turret being used here. The only thing I can use. It's like you really need something like pyrotechnics or a good bow, your bow and infinite arrows, double notch bow, whatever, or duplex bow, whatever it's called these days, to buff that out to make a glass cannon sort of build work, and that's just not possible here. So even at the cost of having a little less damage, it's worthwhile. Aside from that, turrets, as always, have some of the best affixes that you can possibly get. Release cloud of toxic gases, fire follows a projectile, or projectile explodes into stuff is all good ways to get synergies, which will double, quadruple, quintuple, whatever the amount of damage that you're getting depending on what sort of affixes you got. Piercing targets, and that one that gives you with minus 25% damage reduced when you're standing near it. That can also be a really good one. Obviously doesn't give you a whole ton of extra damage, but I would say that in a pinch, those would be great. Something like exploding viscera, maybe enemies that die release a cloud of toxic gas. There you go, there's a second one, maximize that DPS. That's a good way to take out bats because, as you can see, the major drawback of this weapon is that it's pretty slow. Large groups of enemies, if you don't have piercing, flying enemies, you know, that are very quick, that will often get out of the range or just not be in range. And you're going to see that a whole lot coming into the ramparts with the flying biters. It's not... It does not have... It's very disadvantaged in that case. Obviously, I think taking efficiency, the cooldown reduction, is one of the best things, mostly because you can use them as much as possible. I suppose another drawback would be that the turrets can be broken, but turrets are pretty tanky. I wouldn't worry too much about them being broken. It's really just making sure that enemies are within range or can be taken out quick enough while you're waiting for the thing to reload. For a short time, the heavy turret was actually a survival scaling weapon. It makes sense. It shares a lot of qualities, like the stunning and everything with the Crusher, for example. But the Crusher is a very situational turret, and heavy turret was so general that it would just be way overpowered. I mean, these days, you know, the best sort of turret that you can get is, well, I guess I would say the Wolf Trap, although that's more of a deployable than a turret. But it's like a Crusher is the only thing that works at all with a survival run. Just, it's too bad, but it would really be way too overpowered. It's just too good of a turret, and the really good, really high damaging stuff has to be left to only tactics and nothing else. That's how the balance works in the game. So yeah, like I said, I'm not too worried about enemies destroying the turret, but there is an issue when you're in the hand fight. The hand's push will just push the turrets right off into the spikes. His huge combo will destroy turrets pretty easily. Oh, I gotta do the Sinew Slicer at some point in time, too. That's a very storied history behind that thing. Would be a fun one to look at, even though it's mostly just turret plus bleed these days. Got a good look to it, too. But yeah, his the 3-hit combo the hand does will take out turrets pretty easily too. I would say that even if you're not taking efficiency normally, I like it just so I can throw down turrets constantly. Makes the game more active, even though it's not entirely necessary. But in the hand fight, I would say it's almost necessary since he destroys them so quickly. To get any sort of decent amount of DPS, you would kind of have to have it there. You know, also that's the other thing with having it if it did scale with survival, you wouldn't be able to get as much out of efficiency, but efficiency is still really good anyway, so I don't know. Yeah, the biter's constantly out of range, especially even when they're attacking, they're out of range of being hit by the turret. It's very annoying. I would say that's where the whole idea of having the releases a toxic cloud, I think, is probably the best one that you can get around the trap when you deploy it. Because that will actually take out the kamikaze bats, the biters, everything like that, as well as give you a nice synergy. It's the top tier affix that I can get, unless you were able to manage getting a, I don't know, necklace that when you roll, you leave fire on the ground, or when you walk, you leave fire, or when you get hit, if you got a decent amount of damage reduction, and then you got the one that gave you getting hit releases a cloud of toxin. That's a good way to also do that. Not true attacks, but something that does. Oh, there you can see how much trouble I'm having actually getting those things hit by these turrets. Frustrating. But anyway, yeah, those are more of a, what would you call it? Way to get a synergy going than any real damage. You almost never really get any damage off of that. At least I'm pretty sure you're not getting any damage these days. Obviously, I do have a video on the channel of me beating the Watcher without even moving by just utilizing the poisons enemies that hit you. But I'm pretty sure that they have patched that out at this point. Although I haven't really done too much testing around. Hey, that would be another idea for a mod. Using affixes on weapons like, or affixes on necklaces, like drops a grenade or jumping on top of enemies. Just doing a run entirely with that. Although that would be a 0-cell run with how ridiculously difficult it would be. Oh, you know, I'll say this. At least doing these runs, it's really easy to figure out what you're building because you're just looking for an upgrade for your weapon. It's at least brainless in that way, but yeah, I don't know. It does feel a little weird doing 1-cell, but hey, in these unusual circumstances, I think it's the only thing that would make any sense to do. Yeah, that's really weird. Getting the ability to have cooldowns refresh when you grab a skill is something that I feel like I've been using a lot more lately. It's something that's helped me a few times in this run, especially early on. We're kind of throwing down a turret, letting them kill a couple enemies, grabbing a skill, and then going somewhere else to throw down a turret. It helps a bit against the flying biters, but not enough. Oh well. Oh yeah, here's where I realized, like, okay, time to go kill every single enemy in this entire area because there's nothing else to open up, and I want that upgrade. So did you notice that? That was a cut. That was a cut to when after I spent 10 minutes grinding out stuff. And now I have enough gold. Oh boy, it took a while, but I think it was worth it. And besides, I was actually running ahead of time enough that I wasn't too worried about missing any time doors in the upcoming areas here. Which is good because, hey, when you're only working with a single type of weapon, you really need all the stats you can get. Ugh. There's just no real good way to get synergies reliably. It's better working with the clandestine forge there, but I like really the best bet is to get the some kind of affix. The turrets have the best affixes in the game, but it's also really hard to get, you know, an affix like puts inflammable oil and also plus 100% damage on a burning target, and also something that actually gives you burning in the first place. I really think that your best bet to get any of that is a necklace. Just try to kill as many things as possible, find necklace, go into all the challenge rooms that you can. Tough Nut would be especially useful here. I went with just extra health. because I think that's good if nothing else. You can see even the damage field from the concierge here is not doing too much damage to the turrets. It was a short time when it did, but not anymore, thankfully. And with him in jumping mode, I don't have to worry too much about him managing to hit me with a damage field at this point. Gotta be careful not to pick up that legendary item. And okay, there we go. Stupid, but there you go. You know, I think one of the most interesting things about the turret is that it is a very good turret, but it also has that weird damage buff associated with it. No other turret has that. Nothing has a buff like that. You can get it as an affix if you get lucky. But it's weird that this one, which I think is overall a really strong turret, also has that buff. There are much weaker turrets that really could be worthwhile with that. I don't really know what to make of it, but I mean, I suppose it is appreciated. It's one of the reasons why I did have it as the standard go-to here. It's because it also buffs up your main weapon as you're using it. It's weird. It's the cherry on top of what's already a delicious sundae with the crushed pineapple and the chopped nuts and like a cherry sauce. But then also you have cherries on there, and it's like, okay, I don't really think the weapon needed that. And it does open up the possibility that through either mods or maybe in the future of putting a true buffing turret in the game. Something that I would like, but I'll go pretty good with this, but nope. Yeah, something that I would like, but I don't know, it's weird that this is the major way that you're getting any sort of buff. It's possible to get other buffs through affixes, but not likely. Like I said, I did want to try to go for as much as I could possibly get for stats. So yeah, I did curse myself. Is it the best idea? Is it even necessary? I think this is a really good item, period. But Hokuto's bow. That would also be a really good one, if only for the damage reduction at this point and extra health I would get from the brutality. Oh well, extra money if nothing else. You know, another affix that would actually probably work okay is 2 times damage on these things, but that's just playing with fire. I'm already building tactics. I'm gonna have a hard enough time surviving as it is. But that would be the easiest way to get extra damage without trying to finagle out a weirdo synergy here. Alright, I'm gonna be honest, I'm just thinking about that sundae with the crushed pineapple. I love the crushed pineapple on sundaes. So good. But anyway. Close and close. There is also another possibility to get a... I think that I can... Yeah, there's a problem with the flying enemies again. But yeah, I think I could also get another cursed chest if I went for the 1-cell door, if I'm not wrong there, but I also think that now that I've hit the AT switch, it's probably not worth going for that. It's just... Turrets are good against golems, but they're not perfect. The major thing with golems is not so much the punching attack. I can predict that pretty well. It's the fact that they do that giant... the ground pound. Because that comes a little bit more sudden than I'm used to. Oh, there you go. That's exactly what I'm looking for. A necklace that will give me some sort of synergy with turrets. Now all I gotta do is just go 100% on burning target, and I'm gravy. I'm getting double damage on both my turrets forever. This does feel like it might go a little against it, but like I said, the necklace affixes in this case, it might go a little against the spirit of the run, but necklace affixes in this case don't really... You're not using it for damage. I don't think you can do damage with it, and in the past, I know it's scaled with whatever your highest stat is, sort of like a colorless type of deal, but I don't think that's the case at this point. By the way, you might see a bunch of like pounding. I don't know what that is either. I think that might be some sort of weird glitch happening right now. But yeah, I could not have asked for anything better. This It's not common to... There's absolutely no reason to do that, but I did it anyway. Yeah, it's not common on 1-cell difficulty to find a whole lot of elites. So this was a real lucky hit. I think I probably could have managed the run anyway, but this is the sort of thing that turns an okay run into a fantastic one. Yeah, the thing that makes the turrets very powerful against golems is that golems punch the turrets before they punch you, and then they gotta stop when they do that. Additionally, these things stun golems, which that momentary stun, even being kind of slow, does give it enough time to take down golems if you're throwing down 2 of them like that. As always, Sepulcher is a horizontally oriented area, very good for using turrets there. And also, I get a whole lot of stats from going into the time door, which I've made pretty good time on. If you don't mind the, not even a pun, just the repeated word of time. Anyway. So, plan here then is just, I think like I said, try to get the, if it leaves, nope, can't take those. If it leaves, what do you call it, oil on the ground, that's good. If it does 100% on burning target, that's what I'm looking for. And I think that to the point that I will refuse to pick up a more powerful version, or a more powerful necklace, or a potentially more powerful necklace, just to keep this synergy going. It's potentially doubling the damage of both of these things at this point. It's just, I don't know. It's still kind of questionable, though, because I know that, like I said, the hand is very good against turrets, so you never really know how that's gonna go. That's why I got efficiency and a whole bunch of tactics, I guess. Although I am kind of spreading out a little bit from tactics compared to normal. Although I don't think that made too much of a difference in this run. I don't know. Hey, watermelon there, perfect. Because this is not 4-cell, I don't have to worry about it being infected or anything. Eesh. Shockers, though, still very dangerous. Yep. Did quite a bit of damage. Even despite my efforts, despite all my rage, I'm still taking a lot of damage from shockers. But that's how it goes. I do think that... Look, if I knew that I was going to be getting this necklace in particular, I probably would have gone 2-cell mode, but that was just an unpredictable, lucky thing that happened. I think it's fine as it was still quite a challenge, especially when you get to the castle. Enemies there take a lot of damage, even on 1-cell mode or anything like that. That said, I am starting to get to about... Oh, nice. I am starting to get to about 20 tactics, which is, I would say, not even the ideal, just the hope. The hope that I'll be able to manage that. I did get more than I would have expected from the split, less Scrolls of the Minotaur, the survival brutality ones than I would have expected, which gave me a lot more potential to get tactics. But I suppose that's probably because early on I took a... Wow, that was some really bad play. Okay, well, whatever. This is 1-cell. I get a couple refills. I get a refill right after this, so whatever. But yeah, probably because I didn't take tactics a couple times in the early game, it's making it up to me in the later game. I mean, you do know there, as we have found out, there is a little bit of a secret sort of balancing happening here, which has become obvious in the past while if you lean too heavy on one stat. So it all comes out in the wash, I guess is what I'm saying. Whatever. Could have probably... Yeah, I was actually questioning doing the dive attack there to try to kill that spinner, but didn't actually do it. I think I might do it later anyway, because why not? It's just too good of an opportunity. And the Scroll of the Assassin, very useful. And hey, there's 20. Perfect. Parfait. And can't take either of those again. It's all about the spirit of the run. I know I make the rules, and I can break the rules if I so feel like it, but I really don't need money that much. Come on. Might as well keep this run pure, at least for the time being. Oh. Yeah, really the CC of these turrets is one of the best things about it. It's weird to think of it like that, but it's a very similar sort of thing to the Crusher, where just the momentary thing, the ability to knock enemies out of attacks is so much more powerful than you'd think it would be. Especially if you manage to get a... Wow, that was really close. Alright then. Come on, permanent light source. Maybe some food. Yep, there we go. But yeah, just that momentary stun there. It opens enemies up to so many attacks, as well as closing them off from attacks, especially if they have a particularly long wind-up associated with it. Even bosses will start to take a whole ton more damage than you would expect, just because even they're vulnerable to the stun, well, for a short amount of time. It stops being helpful pretty quickly. Except for the Hand of the King, because, you know, they wanted to make sure that nobody would ever use the Nutcracker again. The one time that it probably would have been very useful, taking off the... Well, actually, not even taking off the first 25%. That's the easiest part of the fight. I tell ya. But yeah, and there you go. See, I told you, too perfect to not do that. But yeah, it's weird because even if you're not building, even if you don't need the damage, you can get a lot of usage out of a virtually no damage. It's like an Ice Bow Junior. Just a weird thing like that. And it's... I don't know, I think that's just one of the things that really contributes to it being amazing like that. Wow, that would be amazing if I didn't already have some way to do fire. This run was pretty good, I'll say that. A lot better than I was expecting it to be. Of course, that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. Timekeeper. Especially with the ability to have the flammable, inflammable oil. Flammable means flammable. What a world. That will keep the fire on the ground for much longer. Because, you know, you can probably tell that rolling on the ground is... Oh, come on! I reject that. Rolling on the ground is a pretty momentary flame. But the purple stuff does last a little bit longer. Also, the fact that the Timekeeper is dragging it all over the place helps too. But like I said, it's really just fire for the sake of... Ooh, that's a lot of damage even off of the... There we go. That's a lot of damage even off of just the shurikens. It enables a synergy pretty well, I guess is what I'm saying. Death Orb probably would be very nice here, but I've already done, what, 2 runs with the Death Orb now? It doesn't need any more time in the sun. Time to... Yeah, sure, whatever. Alright, and I think this then is the... Come on, there you go. This then is the last heal before the end of the game, so... you know, not even necessary. I would much rather have it after the castle, but hey, not gonna happen. Alchemist. Still betting that's probably the collector. I mean, who else? Really? But who knows? Maybe that's what he's going to be called when he's the final boss, because he's totally going to be the final boss. We all know he's going to be the final boss. It's going to be the collector, and then it's going to change. The alchemist! Oh no! Hey, oh! That's right, it was me, Austin. It was me the entire time. Okay, that was quite a bit of damage. Not as bad as I was expecting. I mean, each hit from that only did about as much as a shuriken, which... Did they buff the Timekeeper at some point? I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yep. Basic combo is roll right through, and then as I'm rolling, throw down the... Or right before I start rolling, whatever, throw down the turrets. And see, took out that Guardian Knight like nothing. You know, I'll say this too. You can get some pretty good free synergy with these turrets. They do fire slow enough, and they do have enough... there's a lot like Crushers in that case too, which again I compare a lot to Crushers because these are the turret version of Crushers essentially. Ooh, close. But yeah, the slowness makes it so that the one shot that it takes to knock enemies out of ice, you'll still get a decent amount of damage out of that. Useless. And just sends me right back to the Alchemic Lab anyway, so what does it matter? And come on. There you go. I mean, I think I could probably actually have gone a little bit more into health even at this point. Or just taken off the heart. I mean, the heart I was thinking was going to be most useful in the castle here because building tactics, this is the place that I'd be most worried about being one-shot. It's not even against, like, the Hand of the King at this point. Yeah, hooray! I don't even think I need it at this point. I think I've got pretty much everything that I need to be able to beat the Hand of the King at this point. Yeah, right now. I mean, it's not even worth fighting an elite because all I get is a little extra money. I want to keep the fire here. I did have the potential of having a very nice, at least close enough to getting a synergy type thing with the Shot Sleeve Trail of Flame. Ooh, that was close. With the Shot Sleeve Trail of Flame and then also Inflammable Oil, but nah, having that on the necklace is the ideal circumstance. You couldn't ask for anything better than that. But yeah, I do think that this just kind of shows that heavy turret's good. If you're thinking about using any sort of turret-based build, I think it fits into that just fine. Whether you're doing... the fact that it has the buff alone. I mean, the buff works regardless of what your level of tactics is at. And then the stun is there too. It's weird how versatile it is, even if you're not building for tactics. Just think that's kind of unusual. Think about something like the Sinew Slicer, which is an alright weapon, but bleed synergies aren't as good. Bleed just has decent abilities on its own. But if you gave it the plus 10% damage, that might make it a little bit more worthwhile. I don't know, it's weird. Crusher or something would also make more sense in that way. I mean, there's already a lot of comparisons with it, but then... hey, getting that extra 10% damage could make using a slower weapon in a survival build a bit more worthwhile. I don't know. I still would like to see just the regular buff turret. That's something that I... ew, that... if there were a couple more shots there, that might have broken through the door, and that would have been... bad? I didn't even notice that at the time. Yeah, go all 3 keys and make up for the video last time when I forgot to pick one up. Whoops. And that actually probably did lead to the ruin that I experienced in that episode. Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Freeze, super useful. Oh, heavy crossbow. That will have to be one that I do at some point. Which will actually be decent this time, because there are, you know, all the armory mods and that. And if it's a bow, great. But if it's a tactics or not tactics, if it's a skill, nothing doing. For some reason, those don't exist. Only in the boss mod, or the boss rush mod, which is weird that able to do it there. Still waiting to have multiple mods be enabled at once. I think that's going to be a very fun thing, and I'm pretty sure it is going to happen at some point. It's just, you know, you got to replace. It's such a weird shoehorned in feature at the moment that the fact that there's even one working is kind of a wonder. I don't know, maybe I'll just make my own mod and just whenever I want to do a new run, I'll just give myself one version of that weapon without any affixes right at the start. I think that would work. That said, it is good to be back in saddle insofar as doing challenge runs goes. Finally able to take a big in-depth look at just a single weapon here. And this should be the end, I'm thinking? Yep. And unlike some of the previous runs, Heavy Turret still is pretty good in my eyes, even after only using it. Alright. That's a good amount of tactics, survival and brutality. It's not likely that I will get much more damage, period, off of this. Or much more health, period, considering this. Unless I was able to find, like, a legendary version of this equipment. Which hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure probably will at some point. Hell, if I did decide to do heavy crossbow, there was the perfect one to do that with, but I would have already been building survival, so... I don't know, whatever. Alright, I'm not seeing the... I don't really think that the king would be too difficult with this build entirely. As long as you got efficiency to make sure that you constantly have the turrets out, that's the only thing that really matters. And maybe he did get stunned there for a half second and then immediately broke out of it. Hey. But you can see that the grenade attack had already... Oh, I hate cleavers. You can see that the grenade attack there had already destroyed one of the turrets, I think, or at least was very close to doing so. And there go the turrets. But with efficiency, pretty much the second that it comes, pretty much the second that they go down, they come right back out. And with this power, it's definitely working pretty well. Well, again, I also did manage to get... Oof. Make sure I don't get hit by anything this entire time. I am using dive attack on the... Yeah, there you go. I am using dive attack, though, on the banners, which is maybe a little cheap, but hey, you do what you can to win. I do still make the rules, after all. Man, it's weird how much the trash mobs do as far as damage goes. Got hit once there by the hand, didn't do nearly as much as just getting hit once by the zombie. That's how it goes. Find the trash mobs more dangerous than the hand at this point. But yeah, great weapon. Definitely recommend using it.